There is a man who exists in the shadows of war. You will not hear him coming. You will not see him until it is already too late. He has no army behind him, no cavalry charging to his rescue, no dramatic speeches, no endless backup, no safety net. He moves through enemy-occupied territory alone, cold-eyed, disciplined, and completely calm, armed with nothing but his rifle, his instincts, and an unbreakable sense of mission. His name is Karl Fairburne, OSS operative, Allied special agent, and one of the deadliest snipers of World War II. From the blistering deserts of North Africa in Sniper Elite 3 to the sun-drenched wounds of wartime Italy in Sniper Elite 4, and across the fortified coastlines of occupied France in Sniper Elite 5, Karl Fairburne has spent his entire career operating deep behind enemy lines, eliminating high-value targets, dismantling Nazi operations, sabotaging enemy infrastructure, and doing the kind of work that never makes it into official history books. He does not fight in great charging battalions. He does not spray bullets wildly into chaos and hope for the best. He studies the battlefield. He controls his breathing. He takes one precise shot and disappears before the enemy even understands what happened. Karl Fairburne is a man of extraordinary discipline, radical self-reliance, and ice-cold mental focus. And whether you are trying to build a business, master a craft, transform your body, or cut through the overwhelming noise of modern life, his rules for surviving the battlefield have never been more relevant. And today, we are breaking down Karl Fairburne's top 5 rules for life. If you enjoy these deep dives into the psychology and philosophy of iconic video game heroes, smash that like button, subscribe, and join us for more lessons inspired by gaming's greatest heroes. Rule number 1. Stay calm and present in the chaos of war. Picture the scene. Occupied Italy, 1943. Karl Fairburne has just infiltrated a heavily fortified Nazi communications facility completely alone. Artillery is hammering the ridge line. Enemy patrols are moving in overlapping patterns below him. A Panzer IV rumbles through the courtyard. Snipers in ghillie suits scan rooftops and towers for movement. One wrong step, one rushed decision, one panicked breath, and the mission is over. Most people would freeze under that kind of pressure. Their minds would spiral. Their breathing would quicken. Their thoughts would fragment into panic and noise. Karl Fairburne takes a slow breath. He steadies himself, and he adjusts. That composure is not accidental. It is who he is at his core. Raised in Berlin as the son of a British-American diplomat, Karl grew up bilingual in a world already thick with tension and political paranoia. With the shadow of the Third Reich looming over Europe, he later trained at West Point before being recruited by both the OSS and the British SOE to conduct some of the most dangerous solo infiltrations of the Second World War. From the scorching deserts of North Africa, where terrified enemy soldiers gave him the nickname the Desert Ghost, to the hills of Italy and the coastlines of occupied France, Karl constantly operated in environments specifically designed to kill him. And through every ambush, every collapsing escape route, every exploding convoy, and every near-death encounter, he remained composed, alert, and mentally present. In Sniper Elite 4 especially, the missions never truly give you room to breathe. The maps are sprawling, the objectives are layered and complex. Enemy soldiers are positioned everywhere. Yet Karl never scatters his attention. He never spirals into emotional chaos. He reads the situation, identifies the priorities, and moves with quiet, lethal precision. That calmness is not merely personality, it is trained composure, and it is the foundation of everything else he does well. Modern life is your battlefield, and it is relentless. Notifications, deadlines, financial pressure, social comparison, constant stimulation, competing demands, endless noise. Most people today live in a permanent state of low-grade mental panic. Their attention is fragmented. Their nervous systems are overloaded. Their minds are scattered across yesterday's regrets and tomorrow's anxieties. They cannot take a clean shot at their goals because they can never stay still long enough to aim. Karl Fairburne teaches us that your greatest tactical advantage in life is the ability to remain calm and present while everything around you is falling apart. And it begins with breath. The single most powerful thing you can do in moments of overwhelm is slow down and take one deliberate, conscious breath. That is not weakness, that is command. Controlled breathing shifts your nervous system out of panic mode and back into clarity. Elite military units like the Navy SEALs use techniques such as box breathing, 4 seconds in, 4 seconds hold, 4 seconds out, 4 seconds hold, to regain composure under extreme stress and restore operational focus within moments. You can use the exact same principle before a difficult conversation, a business meeting, a public presentation, or any moment where pressure threatens to overwhelm you. Beyond breathing, staying present means eliminating mental clutter. Karl does not waste energy obsessing over yesterday's failed mission or tomorrow's uncertain extraction. While he's lining up a shot, he focuses entirely on the terrain in front of him, the target in his scope, and the next decision that must be made. We lose enormous amounts of energy replaying the past and catastrophizing the future. But when you train yourself to repeatedly return to the present moment, to what you can actually control right now, you become dramatically more effective, more focused, and more dangerous. Calm is a superpower. The chaos is not going away. Train yourself to operate within it. Rule number 2. Embrace the discipline of the lone wolf. Become self-reliant and fearless. There is a special kind of courage required to operate alone. No teammate covering your flank, no squad backing you up, no reassuring radio chatter promising help is on the way. Just you, your rifle, your training, and the enemy at your doorstep. This is Karl Fairburne's permanent operating condition. The OSS and SOE did not deploy Karl in battalions. They sent him alone because the missions were too sensitive, too precise, and too dangerous for conventional warfare. He was a weapon disguised as a man, and the most important component of that weapon was absolute self-reliance. In Sniper Elite 4, Karl is deployed into occupied Italy to support the resistance against the Nazi regime. From the moment he arrives, he's operating solo inside enormous, heavily guarded environments. He must gather his own intelligence, set his own ambushes, make tactical decisions in real time, and extract himself through terrain crawling with enemies who want him dead. There is no commanding officer micromanaging every step. No one is coming to rescue him if things fall apart. Karl is his own commander, support unit, strategist, and escape plan. And he succeeds because years of preparation and disciplined solitude forged in him a level of self-sufficiency that most people never develop. This discipline of the lone wolf goes far beyond physical toughness. It means preparing when nobody is watching, studying the terrain before anyone asks you to, training in silence, building skills without applause, refusing to wait for perfect conditions before you act. And when things inevitably go wrong, because they always do, Karl improvises, adapts, and keeps moving forward. That is what fearlessness actually is. Not the absence of fear, but the repeated decision to act in spite of it. The desert ghost does not wait until he feels comfortable. He moves anyway. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for rescue. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop waiting for ideal circumstances that may never arrive. The greatest growth in your life will begin the moment you stop outsourcing responsibility for your future to other people and become radically self-reliant. That does not mean you never seek mentors or collaborate with others. It means you take full ownership of your habits, your mindset, your skills, your discipline, and your outcomes. Apply the discipline of the lone wolf to your goals. Build your craft when nobody notices. Study when others are distracted. Train when others are sleeping. Put in the repetitions even when there is no immediate reward. Because Karl Fairburne's legendary reputation was not built in one dramatic moment. It was built shot by shot, mission by mission, in silence, in solitude. And your reputation, your capabilities, and your future will be built in the exact same way. Wake up earlier, do the difficult work, eliminate the distractions that keep you weak, dependent, and comfortable. Every discipline you build is another round in your magazine. Load them one by one and become the most dangerous version of yourself. Rule number 3. Control your breath, focus your mind, aim at your target with locked-on precision. Ask any elite sniper what separates the good from the truly exceptional, and the answer is almost always the same. It's not just vision, it's not just the rifle, it's not even the trigger finger, it is the breath. Karl Fairburne's defining mechanical skill throughout the Sniper Elite series is his extraordinary ability to control his breathing so completely that he can steady his body at the exact critical moment. That brief window between heartbeats where everything becomes perfectly aligned, and then he takes the shot. In Sniper Elite 4 and Sniper Elite 5, this mechanic is not just stylish gameplay. It reflects the real principles of elite marksmanship. Karl regularly lands shots across impossible distances, accounting for wind speed, bullet drop, target movement, environmental conditions, and even the rhythm of his own heartbeat. The iconic X-Ray kill cam exists to celebrate one central idea. One moment of complete focus, channeled into one precise action, can alter the outcome of an entire battle. One shot, one kill. But Karl's mastery extends beyond marksmanship. He possesses enormous amounts of tactical information without becoming mentally overwhelmed. Patrol routes, sound masking, sight lines, escape routes, reinforcements, timing windows. He is a man who has mastered the ability to direct his full attention toward one objective with extraordinary intensity. The enemy never sees him because they are looking everywhere at once. Karl is always looking at exactly one thing, the target, and this becomes one of the most powerful lessons for modern life. Your breath controls your focus, and your focus is your greatest resource. We live in an age of fractured attention, social media, endless scrolling, multitasking, constant interruptions. Modern systems are designed to scatter your concentration across dozens of directions simultaneously. Most people spend their lives aiming at nothing in particular. They never take the shot because they never fully commit to a target. Karl Fairburne teaches us the opposite. Train your focus like a sniper trains his aim. Start with breath control. Even 10 minutes a day of slow, deliberate breathing can dramatically improve your ability to regulate stress, sustain concentration, and think clearly under pressure. Then take that focus state and direct it toward the single most important target in your life. Ask yourself, what is the one thing that, if accomplished this year, would completely change your trajectory? Write it down, make it your target, aim at it with total commitment. And when distractions come, because they will come like waves of Nazi soldiers, return to your breath, return to your focus, and steady your aim again. One shot, one kill. Rule number 4. Study the battlefield and execute with precision. Adapt or die. Karl Fairburne never rushes blindly into a mission. Before a single trigger is pulled, he has already studied the terrain, analyzed intelligence reports, identified enemy patrol routes, located vantage points, mapped escape routes, and understood the rhythms of the battlefield itself. He is a scholar of war before he becomes an instrument of it. In Sniper Elite 4, the Italian campaign maps are sprawling, layered, and filled with overlapping enemy systems, officers, snipers, armored vehicles, bunkers, artillery nests, elite Fallschirmjäger units, and defensive choke points specifically designed to eliminate infiltrators like Karl. Yet Karl moves through them almost like water, calm, methodical, invisible, because he has already done the work of understanding the terrain before stepping onto it. This is what made him one of the Allies' most lethal covert operatives. Where brute force soldiers smashed directly into resistance and absorbed catastrophic losses, Karl approached problems surgically. He was never the hammer, he was the scalpel. He identified the single leverage point capable of collapsing the entire operation, the communications tower, the commanding officer, the fuel depot, the supply line, and struck with devastating precision. Intelligence plus precision beats brute force every time. But what makes Karl truly exceptional is not simply planning. It is adaptation, because no battle plan survives reality unchanged. Sometimes reinforcements arrive unexpectedly. Sometimes extraction routes collapse. Sometimes stealth fails and the mission goes loud. And when that happens, Karl never freezes. He does not emotionally cling to the original plan while reality disintegrates around him. He absorbs the new information, recalculates instantly, and executes the updated strategy with the same composed precision as before. He's both planner and improviser, because true mastery means understanding the rules deeply enough to adapt fluidly when circumstances demand it. And this lesson applies directly to life. Before you act, study your battlefield. Understand your industry, your competition, your strengths, your weaknesses, the terrain you're operating within. Most people fail not because they lack effort, but because they lack strategic clarity. They rush forward emotionally without understanding the ground beneath them. Preparation is not procrastination. Preparation is intelligence gathering. Then, when it is time to move, execute with precision. Stop trying to do everything. Identify the highest leverage action, the move that changes the entire situation. In business, creativity, relationships, or personal growth, there are usually only a handful of actions that produce the majority of meaningful results. Find them, aim carefully, and pull the trigger. Then, when conditions change, because they always do, adapt without panic. Do not collapse emotionally because reality refused to follow your script. Think like Karl Fairburne. Assess clearly, move intelligently, stay calm under pressure, study the battlefield, execute with precision, adapt or die. Rule number 5. Apply the strategies of guerrilla warfare. Fight smart, not just hard. Karl Fairburne is outnumbered in virtually every mission he undertakes. The Nazi war machine possesses tanks, artillery, aircraft, fortified bases, and entire armies. Karl has a rifle, a few explosives, a sidearm in his mind. By conventional logic, he should lose. But he does not lose, because Karl refuses to fight the enemy on their terms. He fights a different kind of war. Karl Fairburne is a guerrilla strategist. He sets ambushes in places the enemy believes are secure. He sabotages supply routes. He weaponizes terrain. He strikes where the enemy is weakest and disappears before retaliation can arrive. In Sniper Elite 5, operating inside Nazi-occupied France alongside the resistance, Karl faces an enemy force vastly superior in numbers and firepower. A direct assault would be suicide. So instead of attacking the enemy's strength, he attacks their systems. He cuts communications before reinforcements can arrive, eliminates officers to create confusion, uses deception and misdirection to manipulate patrols away from the real objective. Karl understands one of the oldest truths in warfare. A small, highly intelligent force can defeat a much larger one through strategy, mobility, and precision. This is the philosophy of asymmetric warfare. When you cannot overpower your opponent directly, you neutralize their advantages instead. You choose terrain that limits their strength. You attack weak points rather than fortified fronts. You use surprise, mobility, and unpredictability as force multipliers. And over time, the enemy begins to see threats everywhere. That is exactly what Karl becomes. A ghost in every shadow, a sniper in every ruined tower, a psychological force powerful enough to paralyze an entire occupation army. Now apply this principle to modern life. Whether you are building a business, growing a creative project, or pursuing ambitious goals in a crowded competitive landscape, the mistake most people make is fighting symmetrical battles against opponents who already dominate the field. They try to outspend giant companies, outwork entire systems, out-resource people who have decades of momentum behind them. Karl Fairburne would never fight that way.
We are not the same.
Instead, think like a guerrilla strategist. Move where the competition is weak. Find the underserved niche. Solve the problem larger competitors ignore. Use speed, adaptability, creativity, and personal connection as advantages. Your smallness can become your strength. You are more agile, more flexible, more capable of pivoting quickly than massive institutions weighed down by bureaucracy and inertia. Target the leverage points others overlook, the one relationship, the one audience, the one insight, the one opportunity hidden in plain sight. Because in warfare, the most powerful force is not always the largest. It is the most intelligently directed. Concentrated effort applied precisely at the point of least resistance can dismantle systems far larger than yourself. That is how one sniper destabilizes an occupying army. And that is how one focused individual can build something extraordinary in a crowded world. Do not simply fight harder, fight smarter. Find your flank, take your shot, and like Karl Fairburne, become the ghost they can never catch. Karl Fairburne is not the loudest hero in gaming. He does not sprint through explosions like a superhero or overwhelm enemies with brute force and spectacle. He is something rarer, a man of absolute precision, discipline, focus, intelligence. A man who achieves extraordinary results through preparation, patience, adaptability, and a willingness to operate alone under impossible pressure with no backup, no safety net, and no room for error. Stay calm and present in chaos. Embrace the discipline of the lone wolf and become radically self-reliant. Control your breath, focus your mind, and aim at your most important target with locked-on precision. Study the battlefield before you act. Execute with surgical precision. Adapt without panic when circumstances change. And always choose intelligence, strategy, and asymmetric thinking over brute force battles you were never meant to fight directly. These are not just rules for surviving wartime Europe in the 1940s. These are rules for building the life you are actually capable of living. Karl Fairburne is known to the enemy as the desert ghost, present everywhere, visible nowhere, impossible to stop. The question is, what could you become if you committed to operating at that level? If this video fired you up, smash that like button, subscribe to be an inspired gamer, and join us for more deep psychological and philosophical lessons inspired by iconic video game characters. I'll see you in the next one.